This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
After all that, hello everybody. Welcome to the After Party Live. Thank you for your patience. Not sure why I popped on muted. Usually I have to click the mute button for that to happen, but this is how we're going. It's 2 days worth of mistakes. Clearly the mistakes are not over. Yesterday I did a Travel Tuesday instead of Hide in Your Cave Monday. So here on this Tuesday, we're going to check out some caves, but I found some really interesting ones in the Caribbean that I think you'll enjoy. So we're going to check out some caves today. A lot of great stories ahead. The Mark Thompson show ran a little bit long, but I think the conversation was fun and I enjoyed the show. Tomorrow on the Mark Thompson show, John Rothman will join us, so it's going to be another great show. Today, though, we've got some stories to dig into, including the story we kind of talked about on the Mark Thompson show, but now we've got the After Party Live, a little more time to maybe dig into some of the stories that we touch on, but don't really get a chance to really give some love to. And I know this is a story we've been covering here. Thanks to Yvonne. This is a story about the eaglets that have flown. This is a GIF they've made into it where you can see Sunny flying off. Look at that. We watch these eaglets pip, which is break through their shells, and we watch them be fed, and now we get to watch them fly free. Look at this. So Sunny is a flyer now. Flew away, popped back into the nest. Gizmo, still working on it, but it's so beautiful to see these creatures thrive in this way. Really, really beautiful. The Big Bear cam obviously still up. There's a picture of the eagle in flight like that. So beautiful. The Friends of Big Bear Valley posting on Instagram that Sunny took flight Monday morning and left the nest for the first time. She is one of these 2 surviving eaglets that hatched in March. The parents, Jackie and Shadow, they're still around. But it was caught on tape on the Big Bear cam. You can see Sunny stretching out her wings right there, catching the breeze, and then jumping off the nest, circling around with Sister Gizmo still watching. It is truly captivating to watch these creatures, high up in this tree, living this life that we would never be privy to. And we really get this, bird's eye view of their life and what's happening in this nest. And it has been fascinating. More than 650,000 people have subscribed to FOBBV, Friends of Big Bear Valley, to watch everything happening here. So a great way to kind of wrap it up. If anything else interesting happens, once Gizmo flies, we may cover that too, as we keep a watch on these beautiful, beautiful birds. This is maybe not so beautiful to some people. It's a close-up of a fruit fly. So interesting looking. The fruit flies are being given cocaine. Researchers genetically altered fruit flies in a lab so that they would crave cocaine. Kind of like cocaine bear, cocaine fruit fly. Then they studied these fruit flies to figure out new treatments for humans that crave cocaine. They call it a world's first. And I don't know how kind this is to fruit flies, but all right. The scientists at the University of Utah have genetically engineered these fruit flies susceptible to cocaine addiction. They say, even though this sounds funky, that there are potentially life-saving reasons for creating these insects to crave these drugs. They think that this biological model that they've created could help find addiction treatment therapies could expedite research timelines. They've published the study in the Journal of Neuroscience. And they say that, and it's so weird to think this is true, that humans have a lot in common with fruit flies, that we actually share 70 to 75% of the same genes responsible for various diseases and many of the same vital organs as well. Isn't that weird? I think that's weird. Yeah. So they've relied on fruit flies for genetic studies for a long time. And especially when they're looking into what the roots are for certain addictions like cocaine abuse. Because of the fruit fly's quick life cycle and its comparatively simple genetic makeup, they say, while scientists have administered the drugs to these bugs in the past, there's always been a problem because flies don't like it. So that's why they genetically engineered them to like it. When previously introduced to cocaine, the scientists said the insects routinely opted for pure sugar water over sugar water laced with cocaine. The theory for that was that the fly's sense of taste found on its legs just didn't work out. They say insects are evolutionarily primed to avoid plant toxins, and the cocaine is a plant toxin. They have taste receptors on their arms and their tarsal segments, so they can put their hand in something before it goes in their mouth and decide, yeah, nope, not for me. So once they confirmed that this activates the fly's not for me receptor, they deactivated it. And then there was very little stopping these flies from developing a cocaine habit. They were then introduced to sugar water infused with a low concentration of cocaine. And within 16 hours, the insects preferred the drug laced drink. So now that they know how to modify the fruit flies to want the cocaine, they'll be studying how that cocaine addiction evolves in their little fruit fly bodies and on a fast timeline as well. They say that it's a quick research with these fruit flies. They can identify risk genes that might be difficult to uncover in organisms that are more complicated. And then they can identify treatment targets that help maybe link to human therapy options. It's funny. My mind goes to what could go wrong in the lab, right? You create this fruit fly that wants cocaine, and then it grows, and then it's like this crazy Mothra fruit fly. Yeah. Okay, we'll leave that there. How about coffee? Don't look at the fly anymore. Let's look at coffee. Coffee helps women age more healthily. I guess I need to stop drinking tea and start drinking coffee. Moral of this story? This study followed almost 50,000 women for more than 30 years. And they say those who drank caffeinated coffee in midlife were more likely to stay sharp and mentally well as they aged. The research suggests this could help, especially women, age in a more healthy fashion. The research didn't find any links with tea or decaf coffee. They found drinking caffeinated soft drinks like cola tied to a significantly lower chance of healthy aging. This postdoctoral fellow at Harvard University, Dr. Sasha Madhavi, says past studies have linked coffee to individual health outcomes, but this 30-year-long study is the first to assess coffee's impact across multiple domains of aging over 3 decades. And that the findings suggest caffeinated coffee, not tea, not decaf, caffeinated coffee may uniquely support aging trajectories that preserve both mental and physical function. They collected the dietary and health data from more than 47,513 women who were part of this nurses' health study every 4 years, starting in 1984. They were assessing caffeine intake using food frequency questionnaires that included the consumption of major contributors of caffeine, like coffee and tea and cola and decaffeinated coffee as well. They say healthy aging is defined as living to the age of 70 or older, being free from 11 major chronic diseases, having good mental health and physical function, exhibiting no cognitive impairment, and showing no memory complaints. By 2016, 3,706 women met those requirements. Among them, they typically consumed an average of 315 milligrams of caffeine a day, about 3 cups, 3 small cups, or 1.5 large cups. They found each extra cup of coffee a day was linked to a 2 to 5% higher chance of doing well later in life. Up to 5 cups, about 2.5 big cups. The study also found each additional small glass of fizzy drink was associated, like a soda, right? Was associated with a 20 to 26% lower likelihood of healthy aging. So they think that up to 2 cups of coffee a day are beneficial for most people, but may offer additional benefits to some, maybe not healthy to others. That doesn't help us at all, does it? Yeah, they think that small, consistent habits can shape long term health. Moderate coffee intake may offer some protective benefits when combined with other healthy behaviors like regular exercise, a healthy diet, and avoiding smoking. Well, maybe it was the regular exercise, the no smoking, and the healthy diet that made people age healthier and not necessarily the coffee. Hmm. Yeah. They say it warrants further investigation, which is funny because it's a 30-year-long study. So, how much more investigation do you need? Here's a story, uh, an interesting story and a hopeful story about boobs. These are pictures you can see there of mammograms. And scientists have come up with this new drug they're calling transformational. And they think that it could stop breast cancer tumors before they even grow. If this works, and if this is true, this is a game changer for women. The Cancer Research UK group says breast cancer is the most common type of disease. Around 56,400 women and 390 men are diagnosed in the UK with breast cancer every year. So, researchers with the Institute of Cancer Research in London carried out this trial. It's called the Serena 6 trial. And what they tried to do is slow the growth of cancer by restricting estrogen. This new drug, they say, could stop some breast cancer tumors from using hormones in order to grow larger. So they say using something called a camizestrant could help patients stay well longer and delay the need for chemotherapy. It works, they say, by blocking estrogen from getting into the breast cancer cell, which can either stop or slow the growth of cancer. Interesting idea. The breast cancer patients given this drug in the trial reduced their chances of the disease progressing by 52% compared to the standard therapies. The researchers say it represents more than a clinical milestone, but a transformational shift in how we approach precision medicine. The one of the principal investigators in this trial and the development of this drug, which if you're so invested in developing it, I kind of temper what they say, right? Because of course they want it to be successful. But he called it a pivotal moment in breast cancer care. This study was funded by AstraZeneca. So, they have as mentioned, they have a reason to support it and to be hopeful about it. I would like to think that if the study tanked, that AstraZeneca wouldn't be touting it so strongly. They looked at patients with hormone positive, HER2 negative breast cancer, which was about 70% of cases. More than 3,000 patients from 23 countries took part in phase 3 of this trial, where doctors used blood tests to detect changes in the cancer's DNA to see which treatments worked, which were effective. And for those taking camizestrant, the cancer stabilized for about 16 months on average, compared with about 9 months for other treatments. 1% of patients had to stop taking it because of the side effects of the drug. So they're going to present the further results on this Serena 6 trial at the American Society of Clinical Oncology. There's a meeting they have every year in Chicago, which happens on Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see what else they find and how this works. But this trial was the first one in the world to study blood tests to find early signs of cancer resistant to treatment, helping patients. They say it's an example of how blood tests are starting to transform cancer treatments. Hey, if this works, this is fantastic. It's another message in a bottle story. This is interesting because of the distance in which this bottle managed to travel. This message in a bottle went from Hawaii to Florida. It took 8 years, and finally, somebody in Florida found it. This 11-year-old Michigan girl who was vacationing with her family in Florida found this message in a bottle that was thrown into the ocean 8 years earlier in Hawaii. Josie, she's 11. She was on Anna Maria Island in Florida when she saw this bottle bobbing around in the surf. She said, I was just walking and the waves were coming up and it was washing on shore, and the wave went like crash into each other and went back. And so I grabbed it really quick and I showed my mom. Inside of this bottle, a small note and a little origami creature. And the note said, hello, people who found this. You'll be happy you found this. Why? Because you will know me with this number. And it gives a phone number. And so the girl's mom texted the phone number and got a response back from this woman who's now 21 years old in Hawaii, who said she and her brother threw the bottle into the ocean off of Oahu 8 years earlier. She said she was 13 when she threw the bottle in. It was her brother's idea. She said, we did it when we were 13 and 8 years old. It was something fun we did because we found a message in a bottle. And so we decided to make our own in 2018. She said, it's super fun to see that this bottle ended up all the way in Florida. And then they ended up reaching out to us. Did not expect that to happen. They checked in with meteorologists who say it seems really unlikely that this bottle floated all the way from Hawaii to Florida, but technically it is possible. Mother Nature, the only one to count for this, because without her, they say it probably wouldn't have traveled that far. But there's a way when it pops into certain currents and is carried through certain ways that it would be possible for this to happen. All right. I'm gonna call that number. I wondered too why they published the phone number. I thought that's weird. Usually they block part of it out, but no, there's pictures all over it. Ren loves the story about the bottle. That's cool. Wonder how it would get to around Cape Cod. Ooh, it sure went a long way, right? Flipper took it home. Maybe that's what happened. It was Flipper. Maybe it had a little assist. Oh, Tammy familiar with Anna Maria Island as a honeymoon location. Nice. Hmm. Um, okay, let's move to the next one because I have this story about another brain implant. The company that Elon Musk was heading did this, right? The Neuralink company. This is a competitor for Neuralink who's also now saying they've achieved success as well. Paradromics is the name of this company, and they've implanted a brain-computer interface into their first human patient. The result was recording neural activity. Then they removed this 10 minutes later. It happened May 14th at the University of Michigan, and it's the first time this company, Paradromics, has temporarily implanted its device called Connexus into a human with the goal of restoring neural signs in patients with spinal cord injuries, stroke, or ALS. So until last month, they had only implanted and tested this device on sheep. Now we're moving to human trials. They say they know from sheep that this device is best in class from data and longevity, and now they've shown it's compatible with humans as well. So Elon Musk's Neuralink did this first, implanted a brain computer interface into a human patient. They did it to this man who was paralyzed in an accident in 2016, got this link implant in January of 2024 and was using it for up to 8 hours a day, was able to do a variety of tasks that he wasn't able to accomplish before. And then I think the effectiveness stopped working after time so well. The brain computer interface companies. They're, of course, Neuralink. We have this one, which is Paradromics. There are others as well. Precision Neuroscience, Synchron, backed by Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. They also have implanted their systems into humans. The computer is supposed to interface and then interpret neural signals associated with movement, but they are not supposed to read your thoughts. So, this one, you can see on the hand here, is smaller than a dime. It has 420 small electrodes. It's embedded directly into surrounding brain tissue. They say by having the proximity to the individual neurons, you get the highest quality signal. So the patient that got this for a few minutes last month was already undergoing neurosurgery to treat epilepsy and consented to the research, allowing doctors to put this temporarily into the temporal lobe. They say it's a unique opportunity when someone is undergoing a major neurological procedure. They're already going to have their skull opened, and there's going to be a piece of brain that will be imminently removed. Under those conditions, the marginal risk of testing out a brain implant is very low. So, this Connexus implant, their regulators are still looking at this. That researchers are allowed to do this kind of thing if there's not a significant amount of risk to a patient. So, yeah, they're still checking it out, but now they have their first human test. Your lotto of the day? Big winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's another situation where someone gifted someone a lottery ticket. This guy was given a lottery ticket by his nephew. He's from Maryland, got a scratch off as a gift from his nephew. He says he's a frequent player of scratch off tickets, and a random gift came from his nephew in the form of a $3 bonus crossword ticket. So he says, scratch, scratch, and wins $30,000. I couldn't believe it. I was totally shocked. The winner said his nephew will receive a little bit more than a simple thank you. Thank you. Finally, someone gives the gifter some money too. They should do splitsies. Said I threw a couple dollars his way since he bought the ticket. The rest of the winnings will go toward paying off bills. $30,000. Thanks, nephew. That's nice. You talk about these wildlife tunnels. There's one that I believe either just opened or is getting ready to open in Southern California. And there was one that opened or was being built in Davis when I was living in that area. And now comes this story about these wildlife tunnels that they work, at least in this instance. Look at that little frog being saved. Here's the way the wildlife tunnel looks. There are these underpasses that are built under major roadways where frogs, lizards, creatures were getting squished quite often. So underpasses under the roadways were built, and it's in this case two of them are saving thousands of amphibians from being crushed by cars. This happened in Vermont, where a pair of underpasses put underneath this roadway that crosses a migration corridor have led to an 80.2% reduction in the deaths of amphibians, because every spring, the salamanders, the frogs, other amphibians migrate to their breeding grounds. Some, it's just 100 feet, the migration, and their journeys often take them across roadways where they don't make it. But ecologists are saying these wildlife underpasses, these two in Vermont, that were installed about 10 years ago have dramatically reduced amphibian deaths. Again, more than 80% effective. They wrote a paper about it, published it in the Journal for Nature Conservation. The amphibians spend the winter below ground anyway. They hide under rocks and logs. And then in March and April, they emerge and they make their way from forests and ponds and wetlands and meadows to reproduce. And most of the time, they're active at night on warm, rainy evenings. And they have to cross roadways to get where they're going. And the researchers say large mammals can sprint across the road in just a few seconds, but the amphibians move a little slower. So they're spending more time on the roadway. And it's more time where they have the opportunity to get hit by a car. And because there are thousands of them migrating at the same time, it used to cause a high number of amphibian deaths every spring. So, Moncton, Vermont had the idea to put in these under crossings, these wildlife tunnels under the roadway to mitigate the death of salamanders, eastern newts, four-toed salamanders, wood frogs, spring peepers, northern leopard frogs, American toads. They put 2 concrete tunnels under a stretch of roadway that's less than a mile long that crosses right through the migration path. One was about 5 feet tall, the other 3 feet tall. So you could get bigger animals going in through here as well. Both tunnels were about 4 to 5 feet wide, and crews built metal grates into the road above the tunnel so moisture could pass through and amphibians could still see the moonlight because that guides them as they hop along or crawl along. They say thanks to wildlife cameras, conservationists knew the amphibians were using the tunnels, but in order to get a sense of how effective they were, they wanted to see the data. So they compared amphibian road mortality in the 5 years before the tunnels were put in and the 7 years after. And they looked at the areas with the underpasses, the buffer zones right beside them, and control sites far from the new construction. And they say the results were pretty amazing, that the underpasses contributed to an 80% reduction in deaths among all amphibians. Even when they removed the climbing species and only looked at ground-dwelling species like salamanders and toads, they saw a 94% decrease in deaths. And the people that were behind putting these in said, you know what? We knew they would work, but we didn't know they'd be this effective. They'd do this well. So they're using these underpasses. Isn't that funny? That they would know, that they would use them? You have to put them in the right spot. I was reading an article recently where uh, people put an underpass, a wildlife tunnel, just a few feet over from where these creatures normally like to cross, and they didn't use the tunnel because it wasn't their normal path. So you have to meet them where they are, right? You have to put it where they normally cross. And in this case, they did it right because it's really resulting in some life-saving moments for these amphibians. Vanessa says, based on the litter, looks like humans have already been in there. Maybe it blew in. Hopefully the homeless people aren't camping out with the frogs, but maybe some frogs from Tammy. Yeah. Heather says, hopefully people don't discover the tunnels and ruin it for the animals. Yeah, I don't know. Let's look at the garbage in there. Maybe some scientific material. I see a lot of leaf debris. Maybe some garbage blew in. Well, we can hope, right? All right. Look at this dolphin mosaic. This is pretty neat. Like it? It's a rare Roman mosaic, and it was found near an ancient luxury villa in Austria. Kind of cool looking. Archaeologists say they found this extraordinary Roman villa complex on Rheinberg Hill in Austria, containing 3 well-preserved mosaic floors that give them a little more information about the Roman culture that was in the Alpine region. The joint team from University of Salzburg and Landeskultur GmbH is presented as one of Upper Austria's most significant recent archaeological finds. This site overlooks the ancient Roman city of Ovelava, which is now called Weiss. It had been uh, the capital of the Roman province in this area. They did the excavation starting a couple years ago, and it's revealed more than 1,000 square meters of what was this urban villa belonging to a wealthy Roman family. 3 mosaic floors with rare, visually beautiful culture all over the place. The centerpiece, a mosaic of 2 dolphins you can see here swimming through stylized waves, which they say is a motif that you really usually don't see this far away from the ocean. There's a second mosaic with a crater, which is a large vessel that was used then for mixing wine. And it has this incredible detail with curved handles and intricate lines. And then the third is this partially uncovered right now mosaic consisting of symmetrical geometric patterns that suggest a refined aesthetic on the part of the occupants of this villa. The art is estimated to have been made in the 2nd century CE, and they think it's confirmation of the widespread Romanization of this region and also of the luxurious lifestyle they lived. Because you don't start making these mosaic floors and putting all this time and effort into it if you don't have extra, right? Yeah, it's beautiful. They're going to open this to the public, the mosaics. It's called an open excavation day on June 10th, and the site is going to be open for tours, which would be really interesting to see. And then they have an evening lecture called The News from Science and Research. Boy, would I love to go to that. Already have plans underway to incorporate these mosaics into a new archaeology exhibition at the Linz Castle Museum, which is currently being restored. So that's pretty cool. All right, are you ready? We're flipping it around. We're flipping the script. On a Travel Tuesday, we're hiding in our caves Monday. That's what we're doing. It's a weird week with weird mistakes. Hide in your cave Tuesday, it is. Let's start first with this one. We're going to look at the 10 coolest caves in the Caribbean. I think I have 10. I sometimes if I'm not impressed by them, I delete them. So it might not be all 10. But this one's cool, right? These are the Camuy caves in Puerto Rico. That looks magical in there, doesn't it? Really cool. So this cave is one of several hundred known caves within the Camuy, 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 hope I'm saying that right, the Camuy River Cave Park. Many, they say, haven't been fully explored, but you don't have to get all decked out with the spelunking gear to look at the most popular caverns. They do have guided tours that include a tram ride between the caves, and you can check out this one and also the Clara Cave that has, I think I have a picture of that one as well. Here's the Clara Cave. It has a massive underground chamber, more than 200 feet high, 700 feet long. Also, you get to look at the Spiral Cave, where you get a glimpse of an underground river and a chance to see 13 species of bats that inhabit these caves. They limit the amount of people that they allow to visit every day, so you have to get there early. They also sometimes offer nighttime tours, which would be cool to see that at night. The underground rivers and the bats. Ooh. How about this one? Yeah. This is Caicos Caves. I have this one. Caicos, where are you, Caicos? Um, it's Conch Bar Cave's Middle Caicos is where it's located. The largest island cave north of Cuba is on this quiet island in Middle Caicos. Exploring this cave, they say, is somewhere between an expedition and an excursion. The interior hasn't been developed with marked routes. They have artificial lighting or groomed pathways. They don't have that. There's some a little bit, but really it's not very marked. They instead offer you a guide, and the guided services are available, but you have to inquire at the nearby village of Conch Bar, and then locals will direct you to the people that will help you explore these caves. Once you get in, you wade through shallow pools, negotiate slick rock surfaces, make your way through the snaking passages of these caves' recesses. Uh, there's some evidence of historic guano mining operations from the 1880s, and there's stories that the caves date back to the Lucayan people. It's hard to get here, requires a ferry and a taxi, so that we get to see the picture of it is pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm gonna show you this one again. This is part of the Grotto Caves in Jamaica. I mistakenly said it was part of the Kamui Caves. This is part of the Green Grotto Caves in Jamaica. They have sheltered Tiano tribes, Spanish soldiers, runaway slaves, gun runners. A lot of people hiding out here in the Green Grotto in Jamaica. Green because of the green algae that clings to the passage walls. Nowadays, you have guided tours leading visitors through soaring chambers that at one time were used as a dance hall. You can go cave dancing. And then you go into these passages decorated with natural bridges and intricate limestone formations. The tour will take you downward to a subterranean body of crystal clear water known as Grotto Lake that can be explored by small boat. Maybe you recognize the entrance. There was a movie filmed here in 1973. Maybe you've heard of it. It's a James Bond movie, Live and Let Die, filmed in the Green Grotto Caves of Jamaica. How about the uh, Cueva de las Maravillas in the Dominican Republic? They say the Dominican Republic has a lot of caves, but a lot of them are not accessible to the regular traveler. Look at that. Is that not incredible? This is one that is one of the best and easiest to reach is the La Cueva de las Maravillas. It's open to the public. It has been for just over a decade. It's just off of a highway, and it's in a small park that offers bathrooms, a museum, and a restaurant. So this one's easy to get to. They do, though, strictly control the daily visitors in this cave, and they only take small groups down. It's an hour-long tour, and you can see they have a route with steps and ramps and secure walkways. They have this artificial lighting that's very subtle, but helps to highlight the formations inside the cave and create an interplay between light and shadow. Cueva de las Maravillas in the Dominican Republic. That's pretty cool. Yeah, easy with the groomed walkways and the lighting. That's nice. We've talked about crystal caves before. It seems like almost every country has a cave called the Crystal Cave. This one's in Belize. They say the adventure begins with a 45-minute walk through a lowland rainforest. Then there's a 15-foot drop into the mouth of this cave. Inside, it's some cool adventuring. Narrow passages lead to expansive chambers where crystals embedded in the walls and rock formations sparkle when you shine flashlights on them. The visitors then jump aboard inner tubes and float down this underground river and take in a sacred Mayan lagoon. There are ceremonial wall carvings, pre-Columbian pottery, and a unique flowstone waterfall. And if you're willing to squeeze your way through the smaller passages of this cave, you can get access to hidden chambers that hold even more secrets. So again, walk through the rainforest, go down the 15-foot drop into the mouth of the cave. Then you've got to jump aboard an inner tube, and you're flowing down the inside cave river. That's the Crystal Cave in Belize. What an adventure! Super, super cool. Then there's this one. This is Peter's Cave in Cayman. Here, it's a picture of that. Beautiful views from the cave. It's Peter's Cave, Cayman Brack, and Brack means bluffs in the Gaelic language. The towering limestone bluffs that dominate the northern end of the Cayman Brack have all of these crevices and caves embedded. And some visitors discover these caves on their own, but you can also get guided tours, which is probably a better idea. So there are dozens, if not hundreds, of small to mid-sized caverns hidden in the island's limestone. And one that shouldn't be missed, they say, is Peter's Cave. It sits cliffside about 150 feet above Spot Bay. You reach the entrance by a well-maintained path winding its way up the bluff. And once you're there, the entrance provides these sweeping views of the island and the ocean as well. This cave has helped some residents shelter from hurricanes for many years. And of course, what a beautiful view, right? Mm. There's also honorable mention, the Snorkel Cave in Bonaire. Uh, Not for everyone, but there are several tour operators that offer excursions to this hidden cave on Bonaire's west central coast. You have to get into your swimsuit and go down a boulder pile and enter a warehouse-sized chamber that's half filled with water. And then the guides will give you underwater flashlights, and they lead cruise teams of snorkelers through a pair of rooms and a tunnel that requires a slight duck under and swim to reach the final chamber. Got to hold your breath for that one. But there's some formations to admire. The big attraction, though, is the uniqueness of snorkeling underground. No, thank you. If I can't get to air quickly and on my exactly when I want to, I'm freaking out. No, I'm not a duck and hold your breath kind of girl. Those are some of the best caves in the Caribbean. I think they're worth it. I kind of want to go to that one. And this one sounds cool. And the Caicos looks kind of good. Hard to get to that one. We're not going. I'm not going. This one, though, possibility, the Maravillas. And this one, that's an adventure. And then Peter's Cave. So there you go. Hide in your cave Tuesday this week. I hope it was worth it. As we did a little flip-flop. Thank you for your flexibility. Much appreciated. Phineas says, stay calm and breathe. You can't breathe if you're stuck under stone and water. No. Oh, Phineas is a rescue diver and instructor. How about if I just don't put myself in the position of needing help? Yay. Like that. It sounds interesting and scary. Croatia's pretty from what I hear. Oh, you guys are having this side conversation, looking back up where I can't find Ren's comment. Oh, our daughter is in Croatia, she writes. She was on a tour to swim into a cave. The entrance was extremely narrow. The guide said, it's safe, but if you stay out here, you'll die. And he gave them brandy to keep them calm. Oh my God. That's so funny. Did she send pictures? Send pictures for Thursday. We'll show up. Thank you. What an interesting story. Man, don't float on the yellow water. Those tubers are lost. Cave of Wonders like Aladdin. Yeah, maybe. They don't make bat hats. Maybe put a shower head on. You don't get guano droppings on your head. I'd be more worried about the bats flying out at my face. I don't know. Looks like a very low ceiling. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's Hide in Your Cave Tuesday. And my bad for getting them mixed up. But you know what? I won't get mixed up as Waterfall Wednesday. We'll do Waterfall Wednesday tomorrow when it's actually Wednesday. I know it's a crazy thought, but I think I can handle it without messing that one up. We'll see how it goes. Perhaps we'll do trivia tomorrow and keep you guessing this week. I don't know. Thank you to those who have contributed to the After Party Live, the people who keep this show rolling in a financial way. Also, thank you to everyone who emails and keeps the show going with feedback and sending stories. And it's always wonderful to see what you guys have to say. Huge thank you to Carol S., who contributes $26 to the show via the PayPal link. Thank you to Carol S. Rhonda, who threw in a $5. Thank you so much. Her recurring monthly payment. Also, Gretchen for 11. Laura also throwing in $5 to the show. And a huge thank you to Janet R. came in with a $250 contribution, which really keeps this show rolling for this month and probably next month too. So thank you very, very much for the help in this regard. You guys are amazing and awesome, and huge thank you. All right. And the PayPal information is in the show description and in the About tab. And please click the like button if you haven't already. And if you haven't subscribed, collecting those subscribers. So please click subscribe too. That's free. And it's a great way to help the show. I will see you tomorrow on The Mark Thompson Show. Until we meet again, make it the very best day possible. And I'll see you back on the YouTube on Wednesday. Bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you. That's the truth.